Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. When you're fighting a war, but your daughter's recital is at 5. Written by JCB 112. Captain James Tybold was a simple man. He worked a 9-to-5 job, not out of obligation or necessity to put food on the table, but because he loved his job. Sometimes that involved a few awkward shifts here and there. A midnight shift during the weekdays or a day shift during the weekends, but it wasn't anything too strenuous. James worked in the UECMC, the United Earth Central Military Command, where he captained several vessels, cycling through them as the shifts and timetables of his small task group mandated. Their job was to patrol the outer reaches of humanity's sphere of influence, and they did so from the comfort of the VR uplink within a small building located in what was formerly Washington State, in the former United States of America. For 10 years, James had manned the con without any incidents. For 10 years, the man and the rest of his crew had pondered both in and out of the office. He'd seen a great many of his peers ascend to the likes of Task Group Commodore, or even left for the Admiralty, but James wasn't that ambitious. For James knew he was comfortable, happy, and satisfied with his career. He knew then, after a decade, that this was the best career path for him. Low stress, predictable schedule. It was the epitome of a healthy work-life balance, with the sense of adventure and pride of service to boot. The work-life balance was absolutely non-negotiable. He had a wife and children to come home to every day, after all. But one day, on another unassuming jaunt through the outer reaches of Alpha Centauri, James spotted something peculiar. It was a group of bizarrely large vessels, some of them of the Linolean make and register, some of them of the jellyfish-like Verne constructs, yet many seemed to resemble the likes of the large mining stations, asteroids and all, cobbled together to form something of the ship's superstructure. It certainly dwarfed his 2-kilometer cruiser, that's for sure. He ran a few of their registers through the database just to be on the safe side. Commodore, I'm reading exactly 3,792 vessels. Approximately 72% are armed and the rest seem to be jury-rigged with weapons, so I cannot confirm if they are support vessels or if they are some sort of impromptu assault vessels, sir. Hold position, Mr. Tybold. We'll get the situation sorted in a kind second, the Commodore replied simply, as James continued to stare down the fleet, holding position at the very edge of the system. Soon enough, after a short 5-minute delay, the pleasant voice of the Commodore entered the fray once more. Hold tight, Captain. We have a delegation on their way to greet our new friends. And so James sat tight, his view screen trained on what was clearly one of the newer, classier models of civilian vessels that had just emerged out of hyperspace. It was a beautifully constructed hull of chromium, which allowed Alpha Centauri's light to bounce off of it at every angle. Each part of the hull was faceted in such a way that it resembled a floating jewel, its 4 engines jutting out near the rear, appearing more like delicate prongs which held the precious gem aloft. The vessel soon docked with the largest asteroid-like craft, where time eventually groaned to a crawl as the minutes and hours ticked by. It's out of our hands now, Mr. Tybold. Let's let the diplomats have their alarms. Klaxons and alarms soon blared within James's ship, as the Commodore would quickly change his tone. James, they shot the envoy, he stated plainly, in a manner that indicated mild annoyance rather than rage or disgust, as any onlooker might expect. Oh dear, is the envoy all right, sir? Yes, just a mild headache from the looks of it. Her supervisor's heading down to her office right now. Damn savages! Don't they realize a force disconnect is one of the most painful things people in our line of work can experience? The Commodore sighed, letting out a genuinely disappointed tone seep through the speakers as he cleared his throat. Well, James, the boys upstairs have authorized a full retaliatory strike. If you would kindly deploy the E-Warfare suites, At once, sir, James replied simply, and for the first time in 10 years, feeling somewhat peeved at the outcome of what was supposed to be a regular workday. The alien ships now appeared to be approaching James's small task force, altogether numbering just under 200 vessels of varying classes. James would be hard at work now. A mixture of excitement and enthusiastic glee crept into his otherwise calm demeanor as the uplink after uplink from his systems into the aliens would be established amidst the backdrop of a creeping barrage. The aliens' offensive was relentless, their missiles projected to take less than a minute to reach him at this distance. Yet, the guided ones would never reach their target, instead turning back on their masters. The menacing fleet would be lit up in a barrage of light, yet the task group would remain static, refusing to fire a single battery in kind. The rest of the barrage, consisting of unguided missiles and kinetic rounds, would hit the outer shields of the human fleet, only to ricochet into space. Some exploding harmlessly, others floating aimlessly, demonstrating just how many warheads were truly duds. Updates, James. They don't seem to be acknowledging my requests for their surrender and immediate departure from our space, sir. But that's against the 1099 conventions. Exactly, sir. I've mentioned it repeatedly, but they don't seem to be responding. And you're sure they understand? Yes, sir. We're using the same translation suite as the envoy did. I've uplinked with their system, and I'm even using their PA systems to get the point across, so everyone on board knows. And you've played them the ultimatum? Yes, sir. 10 times and counting. All right, then. You have my authority to eliminate any remaining ship that transgresses within our sphere of influence. Understood, sir. It was at this point that the alien fleet would come to a complete standstill, their engines spooling down, their reactors fluctuating in intensity, as a few lights of their fleet, visible from James's vantage point, began to flicker. Hacking into their PA systems to announce then universally ratified treaties and conventions, alongside legal ultimatums, allowed for a neat little backdoor into the rest of their systems. James! Oh, sorry, sir. I'm planning to forcibly vacate the troublesome alien so that we may return a few of these vessels. My registry search has come up with at least half of these ships being stolen or illegally purchased from our alien associates. Of course. But what about their native ship? Are you planning to vacate them too? We have standing orders from the university to retrieve any uncatalogued ship unaffiliated with our alien associates, sir. Wasn't that an optional memo? Yes, sir. But you see, my son is on the Unidentified Stellar Vehicle Analysis and Assessment Committee. This would certainly give him something to chew on for months to come. Ah! How very considerate of you, Mr. Tybalt. Please proceed. And with that matter, the flushing out of the alien vessels would commence. First, it was the doors. Every possible compartment of the ship were opened and shorted, preventing any manual override, after which the airlocks were opened, which was much easier on the large asteroid ships since they seemed to be designed for docking and perhaps boarding, thus possessing some of the largest airlocks in the fleet. This advantage now turned into their demise as the airlocks opened simultaneously, jettisoning its inhabitants. Specks of black particles would seem to eject from the massive fleet, resembling dust that now cluttered James's view of the fleet. Zooming in closer, James could see small humanoids of varying sizes cluttering the view of the relatively untouched fleet, many of which seemed to be twitching and flailing, as James soon shifted his attention to the other sensor screens. His eyes focused on a single green bar that rose at a steady pace. Systemic desaturation of organic aliens. Upfalls complete. No organic life forms detected, sir. All right, that's a job well done then. Oh, James? Yes? Your shift is over. James would quickly glance at the small clock at the bottom right of his screen, letting out an exhausted sigh upon seeing it. Ah, well, time flies when something finally happens. Am I right on that front, sir? That you are. Now scrap. You don't want to miss your youngsters' extracurricular activities. What is it today? A play? A recital? A soccer game? Oh, it's a jazz recital, sir. Emily is competing for the school's district's award. Oh, how lovely. Do send my regards to the wife, and, little Emily. Of course, sir. And with that, James simply unplugged, leaving his sizable office behind, and of course, leaving the relevant activity logs for the next captain on shift. Howard has quite the mess to clean up. But well, a shift's a shift, James thought to himself as he quickly left the building, got into his mid-sized sedan, and drove off for his daughter's recital. End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Arishakal, Dragzoon WRE, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.